On October 16, 2021, the life of Sylvester Hayes was altered forever. That morning, he woke up early and went out to get breakfast for his 4 young children. While driving to get their favorite meal, which was French toast from a restaurant just a few blocks away, Sylvester encountered 2 Dallas police officers. He did not return to his kids with their breakfast. Now, a lawsuit has been filed and the body cam footage has been released.
I'm finna go get something for my baby, something to eat.
Come on and step out, bro. Come on and step out. Come on and step out. You're gonna get tased. Come on and step out.
I got 4 kids, man. I got 4 kids at the house, man.
This case involves the Fourth Amendment issues of excessive force, false arrest, and malicious prosecution. Let me take you through the facts that are alleged in this lawsuit alongside the body cam footage that was released. Then I'll give you my analysis of what happened here and discuss the applicable constitutional law.
What is your name?
Sylvester Hayes.
Sylvester Hayes.
A name of a champion.
I do apologize. Like if you felt like they roughed you up or whatever, I do apologize.
They pulled him over for no apparent reason. When Sylvester Hayes calmly asked why he was pulled over and explained that he was getting breakfast for his kids, the response just didn't make sense. But Hayes didn't argue. He gave over his driver's license. He also disclosed to the officer that he had a lawfully owned and possessed handgun in the vehicle. Rather than run a check on Hayes' license through the Dallas Police Department database, accessible from the computer inside the police car, Officer Harris wrongly informed the other officer that Hayes was wanted for a family violence warrant. In actuality, the person that Officer Harris thought was Hayes was a completely different person, whose first name was spelled Sylvester with a Y rather than with an I. It was a completely different person. Without verifying the wrong information haphazardly provided to him by Officer Harris, the other officer, Gwab, walked back to Hayes' driver's side window and without explanation proceeded to reach inside his vehicle to open his car door.
Okay, well what's your information? That's all.
Damn, I'm finna go get something for my baby, something to eat.
Okay, hey, if you're good, sir, you're good. Come on, step out for me. I'll explain it to you.
I didn't give you permission to do that.
I know, step out. I'll explain everything.
No, sir. Tell me why.
I'll explain everything.
No, I didn't give you permission. I didn't give you permission to open the door. None of it.
Right now, you are being detained. Come on and step out.
Hey, yeah, I was very
Come on and step out. Come on.
Come on, let me calm my people. Come on.
Come on and step out, bro. Come on and step out. Come on and step out. You're gonna get tased. Come on and step out.
What's the matter?
Come on and step out, bro. Come on and step out.
Bro,
Come on and step
don't
out.
touch
Come on
me,
and
huh?
step out.
Bro.
Step
What
out.
are y'all? Man, hold on, bro.
Come on and step out.
Come on, man.
Come on and step out. Come on and step out.
Alarmed at this sudden escalation and aggression by Officer Gwab, Hayes repeatedly demanded to know what was going on. Instead of providing an explanation, the officers further escalated their aggression and use of force. As this was happening, numerous additional Dallas police officers began to arrive at the scene. They rushed in to join into the use of force against Hayes. Not knowing the context of what had transpired before their arrival, the new officers, having observed the lawfully possessed and disclosed gun, began yelling "gun," only to further escalate the situation and the use of force against Hayes. The violent uses of force were captured on the body cam footage, showing the officers unnecessarily kicking, punching, and tasing Hayes. Hayes began begging for his life and pleading for help from bystanders and witnesses.
Help! 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 They hurting me! They hurting me! I don't know, felony.
Get in the car.
Bro, help!
Stop. Get in there.
Bro, y'all hurting me.
Get in the car.
Some of this footage has been censored in order to comply with YouTube's guidelines. As usual, I'll post the raw, uncensored clip of this portion at the blog post linked below. Eventually, the officers hogtied Hayes' feet and they violently placed him in the rear of the police car. Thereafter, one or more of the officers can be heard justifying their actions by falsely accusing Hayes of being a felon and that they were going to send him to the feds. Then, Officer Harris finally checked Hayes' driver's license through the Dallas PD database. To her apparent shock, the database informed her that the person that the person she just arrested and hogtied was not the same person that she thought had a warrant. She can be heard on the body cam footage saying, "F, we got the wrong guy." The database check further informed her that Hayes had actually never been arrested in his life, and that the gun in his possession was completely legal. Afterwards, the sergeant who was the supervisor of these two officers informed Mr. Hayes of the mistaken identity and apologized for his team roughing him up, and that was a quote. But then the sergeant spoke with Officers Guab and Harris, who made several false and misleading representations about what had transpired. And based on that, the sergeant encouraged those officers to unlawfully arrest Mr. Hayes and charge him with resisting arrest and unlawful possession of a weapon.
We were sitting at the church, and we were just going to start doing traffic. She's running plates.
Okay.
I'm like, hey, run that Hyundai. So she runs it, and she was like, oh, let's look at the registered owner or whatever. So she does. She goes to AIS, and that's a cross-reference, and it pops up red. So she's like, okay. She kind of looks at it, but by that time we had already lost him. He had already gone into like the Family Dollar parking lot or whatever. The Family Dollar parking lot. So then, as she's searching, she finds out that the name that she put on there, whatever was on AIS, had continuous family violence, warrant. So then we get behind him up here because we see the car moving on Illinois. So we catch up to it and we get up here to Southern Oaks, and he fails to signal within 100 feet from the stop sign here at Southern Oaks and Overton. And as soon as he came up here, we obviously pulled him over.
So he got the reason for contact.
Yeah. So I pulled up to the car and I'm like, hey man, look, you got pulled over for this, this, and this. And he was like, well, that's not fair because you were watching me from the other side. I was like, yeah, we were on the other side of the light when you were crossing. So obviously, you know what I mean? Yeah. So then I was just like, you have your ID with you. And so he gives it to me, and obviously I handed it over to her, and she's like, Sylvester Hayes, like that's the name that was under warrant. But
so you got a good warrant.
Well, there's I guess a lot
He
of
does have tickets.
He does have the tickets. So when I'm like, hey bro, so in order for us to be able to like fully investigate, like, because he was already acting weird, so I'm like, hey bro, like,
He was already giving him trouble.
I'm like, can you just step out of the car for me? Like, let's go to the back of the car. And at that point, he was like, for what? For what? And I'm like, bro, come on, man. And so that's whenever Reggie pulled up, and we tried to get him out of the car, and the fight was on.
Okay.
And then I was like, bro, come on.
So you got jail traffic, resisting arrest, right?
Yeah, we have failed to signal 100 feet, and then he has tickets. He had a gun in his pocket, because he kept going like
That's
this.
why he was acting so crazy.
Okay, because
He had a pistol in his freaking pocket. So, and at that point, whenever we were trying to get him out of the car, Whitman was on the other side. He was like, gun, right pocket, gun. And
Yeah. Okay.
so,
Is he a felon?
he has not been convicted. Or no felon?
No felon.
We have UCW
Okay.
resisting.
Resisting? Okay. Resisting because...
Well, I don't know if we were going to be able to put the resistant, because you can't resist detention. You can get him out of the car, but I mean, if the fight is on.
Hold on. So who was on the driver's side?
I was.
So he was listening to your commands at the time, right?
No, he was not. As soon as I had to open the door when I was like, hey, come on, bro, come on, let's step
Because
out.
Whitman saw the gun.
Well,
That's a safety at this point, right?
He saw the gun while we were trying to get him out of the car.
So you got, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when he was sitting down, and we were like, me, Reggie, and I forget who else was next to me, we're trying to pull him out of the car.
Okay.
That's whenever Whitman was trying to push him out. He was like, gun, right pocket, gun, right pocket.
Okay.
And so,
But based on your investigation, you have probable cause to stop him because y'all looked at his name and his picture earlier and could identify him?
we couldn't see it in the car. So that's the thing.
We have a traffic violation.
You got
We have
traffic
the traffic violation, yeah.
Because of reason for contact.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to be like, oh, it's an investigative
Yeah,
stop,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
it turns into like, no. So we were going to get...
So when the pistol come back clean, stolen?
it was clean.
Clean, okay. Double check with the jail sergeant on the UCW charge.
Okay.
All right. Just to make sure, because we got new laws now.
Yeah.
Right. So if he's not a felon, but not convicted of one, that's different. Any drugs in the car?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Y'all just searched the car.
Yeah, they haven't said anything.
Okay.
So.
That's fine. And then what was his injury?
Nothing.
But if he resisted, he resisted. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
he just
So we got
resisted.
him on that, right?
Yeah.
So that we're good. So yeah. So just find out.
The Lester ended up being like the third or something like that. But as soon as I saw the Lester Hayes, I was like, okay, let's get him out while we investigate this.
As a result of that, Hayes was arrested and held in jail for multiple days. He got fired from his job working as a security guard, and he was then completely unemployable as a security guard anywhere else. After approximately 14 months of malicious and false prosecution, on December 9, 2022, the Dallas PD finally acknowledged their mistakes and dismissed the false charges against Mr. Hayes. On October 16, 2023, Sylvester Hayes filed a federal civil rights lawsuit alleging excessive force, false arrest, as well as a Monell claim against the city of Dallas. Let's discuss the alleged violations here. First, we have excessive force under the Fourth Amendment. The standard there are the Graham factors, the severity of the crime at issue, whether the suspect is resisting or evading arrest, and whether there's an immediate safety threat to any individual. So here, the severity of the crime at issue was that the cops believed that Hayes had a non-felony warrant and he was being pulled over in a traffic stop situation. Even assuming he did have a non-felony warrant, as they had believed, the severity of the crime at issue was still low, though not bottom of the barrel necessarily, as the warrant did imply some allegation of non-felony violent behavior. There's evidence that he was resisting arrest. However, that assumes that a lawful arrest was taking place, and we'll get to that. First, state law can vary on whether there's a right to resist an unlawful arrest. The lawsuit here alleges the existence of a Texas state law conferring a right to resist an unlawful arrest, and that's Texas Penal Code 9.31. In any event, the resistance being offered is more passive than violent, in my opinion. Passive resistance, or even verbal resistance, is going to justify a nominal level of force, as opposed to somebody actively fighting with police officers, punching, kicking, things of that nature. Here, he was being loud, somewhat defiant, and engaging in what I would describe as more of a passive resistance. And that brings us to whether or not there was an immediate safety threat. Here, because Hayes is not actively fighting with them, there doesn't appear to be any serious safety threat. The only argument would be the presence of a firearm, but there are no facts here that the individual indicated that he would use it against the officers or attempted to do so. So it does look like excessive force was used here, especially if this was an unlawful arrest. So let's get to that. Was this arrest unlawful? So false arrest. Also under the Fourth Amendment, in order to establish a false arrest in violation of the Fourth Amendment, a plaintiff must prove that at the time of the plaintiff's arrest, the facts and circumstances within the defendant police officer's joint knowledge, as well as those available to the individual officers, were not sufficient to warrant a reasonably prudent police officer to believe, under the circumstances that were present at the time, that the plaintiff had violated any criminal statute or committed any criminal offense, nor that they were legally entitled to make such arrest, even with the presence of probable cause. Was there probable cause to arrest Sylvester Hayes? Would a reasonably prudent police officer believe that Sylvester Hayes had committed an arrestable offense? I would argue that such a police officer would have first run a proper database check on Hayes, which was available right there in the police car.
Do you see how they doing me, bro? Do you see how they...
Scoot back. Scoot back. On your feet. You got the gun?
Yeah, it's in the front. It's in his right pocket. And he kept going like this too. He kept reaching.
No, I did not.
This was not a situation where the database returned a mistake. The mistake was the officers. Was that reasonable? Here is where the officer can testify and argue her case, and in the end, a jury will decide. That brings us to malicious prosecution. Here, they continued to prosecute this guy for months and months and months, despite knowing about the mistake on the day this happened. So assuming that there was probable cause initially, did it disappear at some point? So here he was charged with resisting arrest and unlawful possession of a weapon. In the recent Supreme Court case of Thompson versus Clark from 2022, the Supreme Court clarified that for these malicious prosecution claims under Section 1983, a plaintiff isn't required to show that his criminal prosecution ended with some affirmative indication that he was innocent. Rather, a plaintiff only needs to show that his prosecution ended without a conviction. Here, the charges were dismissed, so that element is easily met. So at some point, did the police officers here become aware that the charges were frivolous? Here, they became aware almost immediately. Once Sylvester Hayes' identity was discovered, which happened right here at the scene, the unlawful possession of a weapon charge is out. That leaves the resisting arrest charge. Had the identity mistake not been made, there would not have been an attempt to arrest him. Remember that Section 1983 liability is individual to the officer, so it would depend on the defendant. If you're suing the two original officers, which Hayes is, they knew that the allegations were frivolous from the very beginning, and they misrepresented those facts to their supervisor and continued to do so just by virtue of the prosecution moving forward. So as far as the supervisor is concerned, there may be some defense for him based on those misrepresentations that were provided to him. So overall, this is a problem, in my opinion, with the Big Brother surveillance state that we've created, which allows and relies upon an army of police officers to enforce traffic laws, but all the while looking for people with warrants, in part by profiling them based on their appearance. Mistakes will be made. They'll be made more often where there's no accountability. There are numerous videos out there right now similar to this one. I've done several showing so-called felony or high-risk stops being made at gunpoint based on similar mistakes, usually some erroneous belief that a car was stolen when it was not. If police officers are held responsible for their decisions, they will be more careful, which is generally how it works for the rest of us. Surgeons are careful not to screw up your surgery. Why? Because they will get sued and have to pay for it. The lawsuit will be posted in full at the blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com, linked below. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe both here and at the blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com. And if you want to help fight to increase accountability by government officials and police officers, consider donating to the Institute for Justice, the link for which is below. My freedom doesn't end where yours begins. Freedom is scary. Deal with it.